So in this video, I want to do a more analysis slash review of my thoughts on volume 15. If you do want a full on explained video, in the pinned comment section or in the description, I have the playlist for the light novels, and the first video that I covered in the light novel section of the playlist is my full on explained video talking about everything that happened with some analysis in there as well. That is a full, almost 20 long minute video explaining everything in that video. So if that's what you want, check that video out. This is more of a analysis review of this particular volume, including some extra stuff that I wanted to talk about that I couldn't fit in the first video. So talking about volume 15, for me, I enjoyed a lot of components about it. The things that really stood out to me that I did enjoy was some of the stuff with the Slain Theocracy, minus Draconic Kingdom, because I really wanted the Draconic Kingdom to get their own volume, but I was disappointed that the Draconic Kingdom is completely dealt with. Passing comments, like the people at the Slain Theocracy having their discussion saying, oh yeah, the Draconic Kingdom's purchasing undead, using them for labor, and that whole subplot is just dealt off screen pretty much. So the potential for 2 to 3 volumes of amazing story with the Draconic Kingdom completely done in a passing remark, and that to me is extremely disappointing and does kind of grind my gears a little bit. But some of the stuff in that prologue were pretty cool. The stuff with Zeshi was also really cool at the end. I really did enjoy that. And the last part to the light novel that I'm going to be talking in a separate video that has some interesting tie-ins to the Evil Eye side story, where it isn't like directly connected. It's just people that have read the Evil Eye side story will know about it. You don't have to read the Evil Eye side story to know about it, but it's just kind of like almost like an Easter egg kind of thing. If you've read it, you'll get it. If you don't, it doesn't matter. It's a fun little Easter egg kind of thing, because the Evil Eye side story is a side story, alternate timeline thing that's non-relevant. The thing that really did bug me, and again, this is my opinion, you do not have to agree with me. I have to emphasize on that. As an Overlord fan, I have to be honest with my opinion. And just because I'm an Overlord fan does not mean I cannot be critical of a light novel series. I did not enjoy how chapter 1 and 2 were done, in the sense of I felt like there was too much fluff in it. And I love fluff in the right moments and the right context, because the problem with adding fluff into a light novel series now, with how many volumes are left and how the author's going about things, doesn't sit right with me. And the reason being is because volume 15 and volume 16 were meant to be one big volume. He wrote it as one big volume. It was split because the size was just too big. So there are still 2 more volumes yet to come. Now I say 2 more volumes because volume 16 is out in Japan, and I'm doing my review of volume 15, and I'll get to volume 16 very soon, but there are still 2 more yet to come out, which is volume 17 and 18. And so I can kind of gather what volume 16 is going to be about, because it's all meant to be one volume talking about the Dark Elves. So it's clear as day where that's going to go. But volume 17 and 18 is kind of meant to be the final big sort of arc for Overlord. And with how many plot points and subplots, or whatever you want to call them, are yet unresolved, I get a little bit annoyed when the author spends 2 whole chapters just adding fluff and unnecessary stuff, when more could have been put into fleshing out critical stuff or closing plot points. Chapter 3 I did really enjoy, because it gave us an idea about the Dark Elves, the village, and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of wish an extra chapter was given to it. Now I know volume 16 is probably going to add more, but to me it could have really dealt with a little bit extra. And with all the fluff that was added at the beginning, with Irons going to the elf slaves, asking them about the Dark Elves, their positioning, the culture, all that kind of stuff, and how he took them to the cafeteria, and all the stuff that happened with the chef, and the kind of people always kind of making a fiasco about Irons. Like Irons goes into the cafeteria and the chef goes, oh, we're going to have a feast. And it's like Irons can't even eat the food or drink the drinks, so why make a feast in his honor? It almost kind of feels insulting. It's like, hey, I'm going to make all this amazing food in your honor, but you can't eat it. It just feels insulting to me. At least if I was Irons, I'd be like, really? You're going to make a feast and I can't enjoy it? but this whole fiasco is done. Now, it's cool and it's fun because it's kind of the Overlord story that we know and love, but with how many other things that need to be resolved, of all things that the author decides to do in the first 2 chapters, it had to be those things like fluff. And then Irons having to gather intel about the Dark Elves by finding a one lone Dark Elf and mind manipulation and wiping memories and all that kind of stuff. Those 2 chapters could have been done almost in 1 chapter. It could have been condensed in half and done in 1 chapter, and then you could have had a whole extra chapter dedicated towards the Dark Elves and everything going on there, or you could have had it to do with a subplot that still was yet to be finished. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but I just kind of wish the writer would spend more time finishing major critical stuff that needs to be finished, because Volume 18 is going to be the last volume for Overlord, and with how much is still yet unresolved, it really doesn't leave much room left for things to be resolved, unless he decides again to change his mind and does it. Volume 17 is like really big and it gets split again and he adds in heaps of extra stuff that needs to be resolved and does get resolved. But he's saying in his comments that he's not going to do that. But again, what he says and what he does, completely contradictory a lot of the times, because he said he wouldn't do it with this volume either, but he did it. So unless he does that, I am concerned, because there's just so much left unfinished. And volume 14 felt very rushed as well. And just when you read Overlord, you can tell that Overlord has been written to go well beyond 20 to 25 volumes, like easy 25 volumes. Like the story is very well written in that sense of so many subplots, so many major things that are unresolved. Like the Draconic Kingdom was one, but it's all dealt off screen. And that could have been easily 2 volumes, minimally. And that's what frustrates me, because there are so many awesome things that the author hinted at, alluded at, directly talked about, and it just feels like it's all just been brushed under the carpet just so he can quickly get it done and be done and dusted. And there's a lot of drama about why he's doing that. Some people have blamed it on the Western fan base and some of the drama going on there. I think it's clearly more to do with Katawa and how they treat their writers and people that work under them, and just the workers can't really say much because they're obligated to keep their mouths zipped because of obligations with contracts and all that. And the one thing you don't want to do when you want to rush something is annoy your boss or tick them off. That's my opinion on it. I still really enjoyed like the Zeshi stuff and the extra bit that I'm going to talk about at the end, and some of the stuff with the Slain Theocracy, how they were talking about some of the tech stuff, and the Dark Elf chapter was pretty cool as well. But it's just those little parts where there's a lot of fluff in it, where it goes from the cafeteria, then explaining things to Albedo, Mari, and Aura, and then going through the forest and gathering intel and the back and forth there. I just feel like things could have been done in a different pacing, and we could have had more time to flesh out the Dark Elves or another subplot that needed polishing off. That's my personal opinion. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I am very excited for Volume 16. I haven't read it, don't know what's going to happen. Well, I do know some stuff that's going to happen, which I'm not going to spoil, but I haven't like fully read it. Technically I've lied, I've read parts of it, I just haven't fully read it. So I'm very excited to fully read that out again and do my overall thoughts and opinions on it. So again, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you do want the full explain video, go to the playlist, check that out. And again, I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.